Hello students, welcome to your WebSeek Academy English channel. Today, we will discuss the lesson Everything I Need to Know I Learned in the Forest, which is included in your second PUC English syllabus. This inspiring and reflective piece is written by Dr. Vandana Shiva, an Indian environmentalist, physicist, and author known for her work in protecting nature, biodiversity, and traditional knowledge. A note on the writer. Born in India in 1952, Vandana Shiva is a world-renowned environmental leader and thinker. Director of the Research Foundation on Science, Technology, and Ecology, she is the author of many books, including Staying Alive, Women, Ecology and Development, Solve Not All, Climate Change, Peak All and Food Insecurity, Earth Democracy, Justice, Sustainability, and Peace, Water Wars, Privatization, Pollution and Profit, Biopiracy, The Plunder of Nature and Knowledge, Monocultures of the Mind, and The Violence of the Green Revolution. Vandana Shiva is a leader in the International Forum on Globalization. In 1993, she won the Alternative Nobel Peace Prize, the Right Livelihood Award. In 2010, she was awarded the Sydney Peace Prize for her commitment to social justice. The founder of Navdanya, 9 Seeds, a movement promoting diversity and use of native seeds, she also set up the Research Foundation for Science, Technology, and Ecology in her mother's cowshed in 1997. Background. This lesson is based on 2 articles written by Vandana Shiva. The first part of the lesson titled, Everything I Need to Know I Learned in the Forest * was published in the winter issue of Yes magazine 2012. The title of the winter issue was, What Would Nature Do? The second part titled, Right of Nature on the Global Stage, was adopted by the author from her own article, Forest and Freedom, which was published in the May to June 2011 edition of Resurgence magazine. The 2 parts are thematically interlinked and supplement each other. In the first part, the author tells the reader how she learned the basic principles of environmentalism from the uneducated women of Garhwal, Himalaya, and how she became a proactive environmentalist. In the second part, she presents a historical account of how the concept of Earth as a living entity got transformed to Earth as dead matter and its consequences. The whole lesson talks about environmental concepts like biodiversity, Earth as a living organism, Earth democracy, ecological sustainability, etc. Everything I Need to Know I Learned in the Forest summary. In the first part of the lesson, the writer narrates how she learned the basic principles of ecology. She says that her study of ecology started in the forests of the Himalaya because her father was a forest conservator. Hence, she declares that whatever she knows about ecology was learned from the Himalayan forests and ecosystems. Incidentally, her mother, who was brought up in Lahore, which became Pakistan later, settled in India after partition and became a farmer. In the next few paragraphs, she narrates the history of the Chipko movement. It was a non-violent response to the large-scale deforestation that was taking place in the Himalayan region in the 1970s. In this context, Vandana Shiva tells us that her involvement in the contemporary ecology movement began with the Chipko movement. During this period, the peasant women from the Garhwal Himalaya had come out in defense of the forests, protesting against the ruthless cutting down of trees on a large scale for logging. This had resulted in landslides and floods, scarcity of water, fodder and fuel. Consequently, women had become the worst sufferers because they were in charge of fulfilling the daily requirements for cooking, washing and other household chores. They had to walk long distances for collecting water and firewood, which was a heavy burden. Fortunately, the women had realized that the forests were the real source of springs and streams, food for their cattle and fuel for their herds. Therefore, the women declared that they would hug the trees, and the loggers would have to kill them before killing the trees. They appealed to the loggers not to cut them and to keep those trees alive. In 1973, she went to the Himalaya to visit her favorite forests and swim in her favorite stream. She wanted to see these spots before leaving for Canada to do her PhD, but the forests were not there and the stream had become a trickle. It was at this moment that she decided to become a volunteer for the Chipko movement. She spent every vacation doing Padayatra, walking pilgrimages, documenting the deforestation, the work of the forest activists and spreading the message of Chipko. Next, the author narrates the Chipko action that took place in the Himalayan village of Advani in 1977. She recalls how a village woman named Bachni Devi led a movement of resistance against her own husband who had obtained a contract to cut trees. When the logging officials arrived at the forest, the women held up lighted lanterns although it was broad daylight. The forester admonished them saying that they were foolish women and did not know the value of the forest. He added that the forests produced a profit, resin and timber. The women sang back in chorus replying that the forests bore soils, water and pure air and also sustain the earth and all that she bears. In the next section titled, Beyond Monocultures, Vandana Shiva tells the readers that she learned about biodiversity and biodiversity-based living economies from the Chipko movement. Further, she remarks that our failure to understand biodiversity and its many functions is the root cause of the impoverishment of nature and culture. Then she says that the lessons she learned about diversity in the Himalayan forests she transferred to the protection of biodiversity on her farms. She started saving seeds from farmers' fields and incidentally realized that they needed a farm for demonstration and training. This led to the establishment of Navdanya Farm. She declares that now they conserve and grow 630 varieties of rice, 150 varieties of wheat, and hundreds of other species. She proudly says that they practice and promote a biodiversity-intensive form of farming that produces more food and nutrition per acre. Finally, she observes that the conservation of biodiversity is, therefore, the answer to the food and nutrition crisis being faced in our country. The Navdanya organization helps farmers make a transition from fossil fuel and chemical-based monocultures to biodiverse ecological systems nourished by the sun and the soil. She concludes saying that biodiversity has been her teacher of abundance and freedom, of cooperation and mutual giving. The second part of the lesson begins with the title, Rights of Nature on the Global Stage. In the first section, she suggests that we accept nature as a teacher and when we do so we co-create with her and also recognize her agency and her rights. Incidentally, she says that Ecuador has recognized the rights of nature in its constitution and calls it a significant step. As a sequel, the United Nations General Assembly organized a conference on harmony with nature as part of Earth Day celebrations in April 2011. She makes a reference to the report of the UN Secretary-General titled Harmony with Nature that was issued in conjunction with the conference. The report highlighted the importance of reconnecting with nature. Vandana Shiva opines that separatism is indeed at the root of disharmony with nature and violence against nature and people. The author supports her statement citing the opinion of Cormac Cullinan, a prominent South African environmentalist. According to him, apartheid means separateness. The author says that the whole world joined the anti-apartheid movement in order to end the violent separation of people on the basis of color. Now that apartheid in South Africa has been put behind us, we need to overcome the wider and deeper apartheid, and eco-apartheid based on the illusion of separateness of humans from nature in our minds and lives. The author makes an attempt to trace the origin of the idea of separateness. The author recalls our beliefs about the earth in the pre-industrial era when man believed that living beings were an inseparable part of nature. But, Later, with the advent of scientific thinking, man came under the illusion that the living earth was dead matter and there was no connection between the living earth and the other living creatures. Vandana Shiva remarks that it was at this moment in history that the war against the earth began. She observes that the seeds of separateness were sown when the living earth was considered as a dead matter to facilitate the Industrial Revolution. She adds here that monocultures replaced diversity, raw materials and dead matter replaced vibrant earth. The earth came to be termed as terra nullius, which means empty land, ready for occupation regardless of the fact that the Mother Earth, Terra Madre, was home to tens of thousands of indigenous peoples, people of different races, tribes, ethnicities. Vandana Shiva next mentions Caroline Merchant, a philosopher and historian, in her support and says that this shift of perspective from nature as a living, nurturing mother to inert, dead and manipulable matter was well suited to the activities that led to capitalism. Furthermore, Vandana Shiva says that the images of domination of the earth by scientific methods, created by Francis Bacon and other leaders of the scientific revolution, replaced the idea that the earth nurtures life-living beings. They also successfully removed a cultural constraint on the exploitation of nature. Until then, people did not dare to readily slay a mother, dig into her entrails for gold, or mutilate her body, as observed by Merchant. It is to be inferred here that once Francis Bacon popularized the idea that the earth can serve as a source of raw materials for scientific experiments, many new scientific discoveries and inventions were made which later led to the exploitation of iron, gold, copper, wooden metals from the earth and heralded the Industrial Revolution, modernization, growth of cities, increase in the number of rich people and urban culture, displacing other cultures. In the next section titled, What Nature Teaches, Vandana Shiva tells the reader what we need to do now. She says that we are facing multiple crises and hence we need to move away from the paradigm of nature as dead matter and move towards an ecological paradigm. Vandana Shiva tells us that to understand what an ecological paradigm means, we need to go to nature herself, and nature is the best teacher. Vandana Shiva presents a model of the Earth University which she says is located at Navdanya, a biodiversity farm. She says that Earth University teaches Earth democracy. The concept of Earth democracy symbolizes freedom for all species to evolve within the web of life. It also refers to the freedom and responsibilities of humans as members of the Earth family to recognize, protect and respect the rights of other species. Vandana Shiva explains that the idea of Earth democracy is a shift from anthropocentrism to ecocentrism. Anthropocentrism is a school of thought which argues that humans are the central element of the universe. Now we need to accept that ecosystems are the main elements of the universe and not man, and the Earth nurtures diverse ecosystems. It also means that it is man's responsibility to preserve these ecosystems. Since we all depend on the earth for our survival, Earth democracy gives every human being rights to food and water, to freedom from hunger and thirst. Vandana Shiva mentions the activities at Navdanya. She says that it is a biodiversity farm where participants learn to work with living seeds, living soil, and the web of life. In the next section titled, The Poetry of the Forest, Vandana Shiva talks about the original source of the idea of the Earth University. She states that the concept of Earth University originated from Rabindranath Tagore's Shantiniketan in West Bengal. Tagore started a learning center in Shantiniketan in West Bengal as a forest school. The school became a university in 1921, growing into one of India's most famous centers of learning. Vandana takes this forest school as a model and tells the readers that just as in Tagore's time, we need to turn to nature and the forest for lessons in freedom. Then she refers to Tagore's essay, Tapovan, Forest of Purity, in which Tagore has expressed his understanding of the Indian civilization. Tagore asserts that India's best ideas have come from where the man was in communion with trees and rivers and lakes, away from the crowds. He adds that the peace of the forest has helped the intellectual evolution of man. Furthermore, he says that the culture that has arisen from the forest has been influenced by the diverse processes of renewal of life, and these processes of renewal of life are always at play in the forest, varying from season to season, in sight, sound and smell. This culture of the forest has fueled the culture of Indian society. Vandana Shiva says that unity in diversity is the basis of both ecological sustainability and democracy. She adds that this is true of both nature and culture, and through our relationship with the forest we are united with nature. Vandana Shiva further elaborates the features of the culture of the forest. She refers to Tagore's writings and says that in his writings the forest was not just the source of knowledge and freedom, but was also the source of beauty and joy, of art and aesthetics, of harmony and perfection. It symbolized the universe. Vandana Shiva says that the forest teaches us union and compassion. It also teaches us enoughness. It means, it teaches us the principle of equity. It shows us how to enjoy the gifts of nature without exploitation. Furthermore, she says that no species in a forest takes away the share of another species, and every species sustains itself in cooperation with others. She concludes saying that the end of consumerism and accumulation is the beginning of the joy of living. Finally, Vandana rounds off her article saying that the conflict between greed and compassion, conquest and cooperation, violence and harmony continues even today, and in this situation, it is a forest that can show us the way beyond this conflict. Thus, Vandana Shiva wants to assure us that the forests teach us the values of diversity, freedom and coexistence. Everything I need to know I learned in the Forest Comprehension 1. 1. Trace the childhood experiences that shaped the author's interest in ecology. Answer. Vandana Shiva's father was a conservator of forests in the Himalaya region. This implies that she lived and was brought up in forest surroundings. Hence she declares that whatever she knows about ecology was learned from the Himalayan forests and ecosystems. Her mother was a farmer and she used to compose songs and poems about trees, forests and India's forest civilizations. Thus, her parents and their profession undoubtedly shaped the author's interest in ecology. 2. How does the scarcity of water, fodder and fuel affect women? Answer. The ruthless cutting down of trees results in floods, landslides, scarcity of water, fodder for cattle and fuel. This affects the womenfolk in particular because they have to walk long distances for collecting water and firewood, which is quite burdensome. 3. What features of the Chipko movement does the author highlight? Answer. The features of Chipko movement are that it was a non-violent response to the large-scale deforestation like doing Padyatras, documenting the deforestation, and the work of the forest activists, hugging the trees to prevent them from being cut down. One such Chipko action took place in the Himalayan village of Advani in 1977. A woman led the resistance against her own husband, who had obtained a contract to cut trees. She protested with lighted lanterns in bright daylight. 4. The real value of the forest for women was A. Timber from dead trees. B. Source of basic needs. C. Springs and streams. Answer. B. C. Source of basic needs, springs and streams. 5. List the activities that Vandana undertook after her involvement with the Chipko movement. Answer. She spent every vacation doing Padyatras, documenting the deforestation and the work of the forest activists. She spread the message of the Chipko movement and created awareness in the people about the value of forests. She put emphasis on organic farming. She set up 100 community seed banks. 6. The conservation of biodiversity in agriculture leads to A. Increase in the quantity of food production. B. A developing variety of food grains. C. More quality food and higher nutrition. Answer. C. More quality food and higher nutrition. 7. Why is it important to change the fossil fuel and chemical-based monoculture? Answer. It is important to change the fossil fuel and chemical-based monoculture because it impoverishes nature and culture. 8. What prompted the UN to initiate a discussion on the rights of Mother Earth? Or, name one of the factors that prompted the UN to initiate a discussion on the rights of Mother Earth. Answer. The Constitution of Ecuador, in which were recorded the rights of nature, and the Universal Declaration of the Rights of Mother Earth initiated by Bolivia, prompted the UN General Assembly to organize a conference so as to initiate a discussion on the rights of Mother Earth. 9. The conference organized by the UN General Assembly aimed at transforming the domination of A. People over nature. B. Men over women. C. Rich over the poor. D. All of the above. Answer. D. All of the above. 10. What, according to the author, is eco-apartheid? Why is it necessary to end this? Answer. According to the author, eco-apartheid means holding the illusion in our minds and lives that humans are separate from nature. It is necessary to remove such an illusion from our minds and lives because it leads to disharmony with nature and finally to violence against nature and people. In short, human beings start exploiting nature and perpetuate violence against themselves. 11. Which event in human history marked the beginning of the separation of humans from nature? Answer. The Industrial Revolution, which was facilitated by the belief that Earth was a dead matter, marked the beginning of the separation of humans from nature. 12. How do Caroline Merchant and Francis Bacon differ in their views? Answer. Francis Bacon, the father of modern science, believed that science and the inventions that result do not merely exert a gentle guidance over nature's course, they have the power to conquer and subdue her, to shake her to her foundation. But Caroline Merchant points out that due to this overgreed, nature has been destroyed by man to suit his capitalism. But then, he realized the importance of nature, and instead of destroying, he slowly started to think about nature and nurturing Earth by removing his blind superstitious cultural beliefs. At last, she says, one does not readily slay a mother, dig into her entrails for gold, or mutilate her body. 13. What ideas of Tagore inspired Vandana Shiva to start Earth University? Answer. The author states that the Earth University located at Navdanya Farm was inspired by Rabindranath Tagore's ideas expressed in his essay, Tapovan, Forest of Purity. Tagore says that India's best ideas have come from the forests where the man was in communion with trees and rivers and lakes, away from the crowds. The peace of the forest has helped the intellectual evolution of man, and the culture of the forest has fueled the culture of Indian society. The culture that has arisen from the forest has been influenced by the diverse processes of renewal of life, which are always at play in the forest, varying from species to species, from season to season, in sight and sound and smell. The unifying principle of life in diversity, of democratic pluralism, thus became the principle of Indian civilization. 14. How is unity and diversity related to each other? Answer. Unity and diversity are related to each other. This unity in diversity is the basis of both ecological sustainability and democracy. Diversity without unity becomes the source of conflict and contest. Unity without diversity becomes the ground for external control. The forest is a unity in its diversity, and we are united with nature through our relationship with the forest. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to WebSeek Academy for more English lessons and notes. See you in the next video. Until then, keep learning and keep growing.